Chapter 112 Dreams We'll Never Have. When Gojo woke in the morning and turned to an empty pillow, he sat up and lifted the covers. Geto was buried under there, curled into a ball. He twitched when the fresh air touched his skin. His face was hot and his hair was damp from perspiration. Gojo blinked the sleep out of his eyes and rubbed his hand across Geto's back. "No," Geto muttered. Gojo cracked a smile. "I didn't even ask you anything." "The answer is still no." Geto propped himself up, his body stiff. Gojo massaged his back. Geto turned to him. Even first thing in the morning, Geto already looked worn down and tired. He managed a small smile, but it was tinged with sadness. A far cry from Geto's happy expression from the vision with the twins, but Gojo still wanted it. "Hey, you're gonna be okay today. You're off the hook for training. Nothing to worry about." Gojo tried to put Geto at ease. Geto looked down. "Yeah, but the reason there's no training today," his voice trailed off. "It's all right, Suguru." Gojo pulled him in for a kiss, then headed to the bathroom to get ready for school. During class, Gojo was restless, more so than usual. He shifted around in his seat so often that Geto gripped his thigh under the desk and gave him a scowl. Yaga's lesson on observation reports was not his most exciting, but it was still something they needed to learn. While they were supposed to be writing up mock reports, Yaga made his way to their desk. Gojo and Geto looked up. "Gojo, I'm going to have Geto do independent study at 1300 in the library, but I'll have you meet me at headquarters. Just a short training session." Yaga tried to keep his voice low, but the students around them were listening intently. Their classmates kept their distance. They were intimidated by Gojo and the lore of his curse techniques. They were wary of Geto and his withdrawn demeanor. There was still wild speculation about the incident at Hybera village. The lack of information about his stay at the hospital fueled the gossip even further. But their wariness was also a cover for their curiosity about the two. A favorite rumor was that they were more than just working partners and roommates. Some had sworn they'd seen them holding hands. Gojo confirmed with Yaga that he'd meet him in the training chambers. When Yaga walked away, Geto picked up his pen to finish writing his assignment, but he stared at the paper. He realized that he hadn't been separated from Gojo since he came back to school. "Damn it, Suguru, don't be a child. You're a grown man. Learn to be independent again. Satoru's going to return to you." But that was the thing. There was a time when he didn't. Geto's stomach dropped, remembering the way he felt when Gojo stopped responding to his texts and calls those months ago. Geto had been independent at the time, going on dangerous missions alone, going back to the dorms alone, tossing and turning sleepless nights alone. Always alone, pretending it didn't bother him, but his solitude made it easy for the downfall to begin. Geto set his pen on the desk and leaned back. Gojo had his arm draped over his seat and he touched his shoulder. Geto looked at him, his eyes betraying the loss he was remembering. Gojo's eyebrows furrowed. "What's wrong?" he mouthed, but Geto looked away. Gojo was running late, as usual, but he wanted to walk Geto to the library before he met Yaga for training. Geto settled at a large table near the windows. Gojo set his backpack next to Geto's. "I'll be back. Don't miss me too much," Gojo teased, not noticing the way Geto's eyes saddened as he turned to leave. Geto glanced at Gojo's backpack. Maybe proof that he would return? He took out his notebooks and leafed through each of them, trying to decide which subject he wanted to work on. He looked up and saw Nanami walking between the rows of bookshelves, heading his way. "Can I sit here?" Nanami asked when he reached the table. His blonde hair was getting long, and he tucked it behind one ear like Shoko always did. "Sure," Geto answered. He watched Nanami sit across from him and take out some textbooks. "I passed Gojo on my way here," Nanami told him. Gojo had given him an odd look when he said he was on his way to the library. "Oh yeah, he's meeting Yaga for training," Geto explained. "How come you didn't go?" Nanami asked. The question caught Geto off guard. He was bad at telling white lies and couldn't make anything up on the spot. Never mind, none of my business. Nanami dismissed his question with a wave of his hand. The two of them looked over their schoolwork. After a while, Nanami closed his textbook and leaned back in his chair. Geto could feel his eyes on him, and he looked up. It seemed like Nanami wanted to talk. He shut his notebook. I haven't had a chance to catch up with you since you came back. I know. It's been a big adjustment, Geto admitted. How have you been? He asked, trying to get the attention off himself. I'm okay. The higher-ups haven't found me a permanent partner yet, so I've been paired up with a different person for every mission. Makes it hard to get into the rhythm of things, Nanami confided. He retucked the hair behind his ear. When Yu was still here. At the mention of Yu's name, a flash of the metal tables at the morgue clouded Geto's vision. Back then, he was asked to help identify Yu's body after a deadly mission. Nanami was understandably distressed. He'd covered his face with a towel. He didn't want to see Geto pull back the plastic sheet to reveal Yu's battered and bloodied body. Geto's anger overwhelmed him when he uncovered Yu's almost unrecognizable face. He was tired of the violence and senseless death they had to endure as sorcerers. Geto's face paled at the memory. Nanami reached across the table and touched his hand to Geto's wrist. His skin was cold and clammy. Geto, are you all right? Nanami's deep voice cut through Geto's flashback. I'm sorry. Geto's raspy whisper was barely audible even in the quiet of the library. He was your partner. I don't know why Geto wanted to apologize. Yu was Nanami's mission partner, and he'd never brought up the loss with him. Geto wasn't alone in his grief in the Jujutsu world, a world that dismissed their fears and worries, acting as if caring about mental health was a weakness. Nanami squeezed Geto's hand. It's okay. I know you took it hard too. We each had to bounce back from it in our own way. Yeah, but you did it better than I did, Geto pointed out. Is everything okay? Gojo was back from his training session. He stood at the head of the table and looked from Geto's troubled face to Nanami's sad expression. His eyes landed on Nanami's hand on Geto. Nanami pulled it away. Just catching up. He gathered his belongings as nonchalantly as he could under Gojo's scrutinizing gaze. But I gotta go. See you guys later, Nanami said as he turned to leave the library. Bye, Gojo and Geto both said. Only Gojo's voice had a little bit of an edge to it. Gojo put on his backpack while Geto gathered his things. He didn't know if Geto sensed his jealousy. Seeing someone else touch Geto made him uncomfortable, no matter how harmless it was. How was training? Geto asked on their walk back to the dorm. Yaga just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting rusty. He threw a bunch of things at me, testing red and blue. Gojo had so many curse techniques he nicknamed them for easy reference. Geto smiled at the imagery. Hope you didn't miss me too much, Gojo elbowed him. Of course I did, Geto answered. I'm lost without you, he added quietly. Gojo stopped in his tracks. Geto stopped with him, but turned his face away. Suguru, are you all right? No. Geto dropped his backpack to the ground. Gojo cast a veil over the two of them. Geto grabbed him and buried his face in the crook of Gojo's neck. Gojo held him tight. Talk to me, Gojo prompted. Sometimes I miss the way I could bury things and never have to think about them again. Geto pulled away from Gojo but kept his hands on Gojo's waist. Gojo cuffed the back of Geto's neck, smoothing his thumb behind his ear. I don't want to keep reliving the memories. The edges never soften. Geto swallowed hard. You keep fighting yourself, Gojo pointed out. The world is giving us enough to fight against. Let's make some memories that you don't have to bury. We'll go out more, eat more junk, play more games, visit the temple, go to festivals. I'll sneak you away for the weekend and take you to a love hotel. Geto grinned despite himself. He pressed his fingers into Gojo's torso, hoping he'd go on. Fuck this world, Suguru. We're going to be together always and hold hands whenever we want, and if I want to stop and kiss you on the sidewalk, I'm gonna do it. The veil around them dissipated quickly at Gojo's command, and he leaned in to give Geto a soft, lingering kiss on the mouth. Geto's face reddened, but he didn't pull away or look around. Gojo wasn't done. I am going to marry you. I am. We'll have a small wedding, then a long honeymoon, and we're going to have a family and a messy house and eat pizza in our king-size bed every Saturday night while the babies sleep, Gojo rambled. Geto pictured the domestic chaos. Gojo said babies. Were they adopting? Or did Gojo think that... No, he's just daydreaming. He dismissed the thought and instead imagined Gojo, frazzled, trying to figure out how to change a diaper. He laughed at first. Then he broke into sobs. When, Satoru? When? He demanded as tears flowed down his face. Gojo held Geto by the shoulders. Soon, Suguru, he promised. Soon.